3 of, week 2 of Legacy Premier League. We're going to be covering a matchup between Caleb and Michael Bonde. It will be Bomberman versus Death and Taxes.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. Unfortunately, not excited that I lost to Bomberman, but I think this should be a pretty interesting matchup. So,
yeah,
you know, we were talking about before we came on the air. If Caleb wins, wins the die roll. There's some Chalice hands that are just extremely good and difficult for Michael to come back from. Fortunately for Michael, he won the die roll. So he's going to be able to deploy Ether Vials and things like that to start to get ahead on the board. So it's interesting, though, because like Jarvis also pointed out to me, there's not a ton of cards that matter on the Death and Taxes side. There's maybe some sub-games that matter a lot. For example, can you Revoker an aspect of the combo kill? And if you can you have it not Ballista killed? So, like, what do you name with Revoker is a big key there. Things like Thalia are interesting if the opponent keeps like a hand that is heavy on cantrips, and slowing them down is important. So we'll sort of see what happens here, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think in general the first Revoker must name Walking Ballista for the reason you pointed out.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
It's similar in Modern where the first Meddling Mage versus like Ironworks needs to name, just like Pirate Spellbomber or Engineered Explosives. You need to show off the removal combo piece in order to make any headway, I think.
Yeah, and particularly here, there's 4 copies of them, right? So you definitely gain an advantage for shutting off that card, because it's a card that they don't even have to combo kill with. I mean, they can play out their creatures, they can mentor kill you and get a Ballista to mow down your board while they do that. Right. So yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, on the other side, another way for Caleb to win, I think, is an unanswered mentor plus like a Chalice on one. Because without the access to Source of Plowshares, I think it's actually really difficult for Death and Taxes to interact with Mentor.
That's absolutely true. I mean, when I played a lot of Miracles, Mentor was a fantastic strategy against Death and Taxes, but you did have to protect it against their 4 plows. So yeah, I like what you're saying there, and I'm not sure if our viewers can see the opening hands yet, but yeah, Chalice will definitely play an impact on this matchup, whether or not it's going to be in play on turn 1.
Yeah, I also kind of think because of Chalice, the matchup is kind of die roll dependent, because the value of Chalice varies so wildly being on the play or draw. And in fact, you see Caleb ship his hand because the Chalice on the draw is just bad.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so are we watching, let's see, the live? Yep, looks like we're watching it here.
So Caleb scryed a City of Traders to the top, which is an excellent draw for him.
Okay, so this is a heavy on Karn hand. Michael has 1 land. If he can get the Thalia in play, that will be a big game here, but let's see what happens.
The ideal draw for Bonde, I think, is Wasteland.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be probably the absolute best, right?
Ooh. He cycles into a Ballista and an Ancient Tomb.
Fantastic.
So, okay. I think you should deploy the Thalia, obviously.
Yep.
And look at Caleb. He figured out he should just deploy all of his baubles and crack them immediately because they're so bad to cast through a Thalia.
Absolutely.
Like, so even though the Bomberman deck looks simple to play, there's a lot of like these mini sequencing things that you can miss.
Yeah, this is interesting here. So decides to go with the second Ancient Den, and not quite as interesting as playing this Walking Ballista on 1.
Yeah, I think just playing a 2-mana Mog Fanatic is probably going to be good. If it doesn't get killed, he can use it to just mow down creatures repeatedly instead of going for the Karn plan, which he can't even do yet.
Right.
So I suspect Caleb will take the damage, just wait to see if he gets to untap with the Ballista, and if he does, he can just start dumping all of his mana into it.
Yep.
Like, 4 mana to kill a creature from the D&T deck is really strong.
Now, it's worth noting that he can keep Caleb off of Ballista activation by porting him on upkeep.
Yeah, that only works this turn, though.
Right.
And honestly, I think that's probably the play, but that's just a Band-Aid.
It might be the play because he wants to see if Caleb will let him Vial on 3. Now, I think that Caleb is a very good player and probably is not going to let that happen. But because he has these 2 Flicker Wisps, This is a great play because he's going to make Caleb throw away this Ballista on the Thalia if he does let the file go up to 3.
Well, the thing is, Caleb can't actually stop that right now because he only has 3 mana. If Bonde just activates the Flicker Wisp right now.
Yeah, you know what I mean though is that
yeah.
Now he has it at 3 and he has the Thalia in play. So if we see, for example, a Walking Ballista on the Thalia, he's going to sink a whole turn of mana into the Ballista. We're going to have a Flicker Wisp. That's a pretty big game, right? Like that's a pretty big tempo swing.
I think Caleb is aware of this and will just play the Ancient Tomb, attack, and say go.
Okay. That's reasonable. If he does that, I assume we might see some pressure from a Brightling, but we won't get ahead of ourselves here. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. There's been a lot of plays and counterplays already, and it hasn't looked like a lot has happened, but a bunch has happened.
Right.
All right, so if you're... This is actually very interesting.
It is interesting because he has to use the mana now.
Yeah, I think you were supposed to actually cast it off the Ancient Den.
Yep.
Yeah. So, because he tapped the city to play it, you had to use the mana immediately. If you tapped the Ancient Den to play it, you could respond to the Flicker Wisp activation. Again, it's like a small thing, but I think being able to kill one more creature with that Walking Ballista is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so on Caleb's side, though, he's flooded, which is oftentimes actually reasonable against Death and Taxes. He's going to try to get down this Karn and try to start doing something with that. Yeah. Now that the Ballista's gone, though, I mean, there's going to be enough pressure on Michael's side that he can actually deal with this Karn fairly quickly. He can make a defensive type play on the ground, which makes it die to a Flicker Wisp, or try to get card advantage, which is also going to put it down pretty quickly. So I would say Michael is in a pretty favorable position right now, obviously.
I think so. The question is, do you port here, or do you play a second vial?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? So let's see, he has 7 mana, or he has 6 mana because Opal's not turned on.
It is 2 Ancient Dens. Ooh,
okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
A Walking Ballista off the top.
That's insane. That's insane.
It's just so good. I was just thinking the best card for him to draw Ballista.
Yeah. Yeah, Caitlin's pretty on fire here.
Nice. And you don't play a second city or an Ancient Tomb. You just play the Cavern because you don't want your other city to get killed, and you don't want to play a Tomb to take more damage.
Yeah, that makes sense. So he's going to have this on 3.
Yeah, so I was just thinking with how flooded Caleb was, the best draw is Walking Ballista. Yep. I think you have to suicide your Flicker Wisp into this. It's not going to get better. I'm pretty sure Bonde is going to realize that immediately.
Recruiter could be interesting, though, right? Because he could force him into a play with Revoker and then Vial. Okay, so we go for the Brightling. I guess there were a lot of options there that were pretty interesting.
Yeah, so actually Brightling lines up okay versus the Ballista. Question is, do you attack? Yeah, actually, Caleb's not out of the woods yet because so you can force the action on your Wisp still.
Yeah, I think that it's good to hold the Wisp here.
So would you respond to Caleb activating it first? Like, what's here? Interesting. Caleb just let the port activation resolve.
That's reasonable because he can still play the Karn and have a Ballista on 3. But if he doesn't, I don't know. This is hard because, I mean, we have the information, he doesn't. So having a 4th power here with him tapped out on mana with the Brightling would have been significant. So,
right. So the question is, do you want to play Karn for 5 mana? Oh, or he'll just play Karn for 4 mana. Interesting. There's been a lot of maneuvering from both sides already.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's mostly about fighting over the mana, is what it has looked like. Because almost every turn, well, actually, this makes sense because it gets pumped by the Ancient Dens.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/6 is enormous.
It is pretty large.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
I didn't even think about that, but obviously this play makes the most sense.
So we think he's going to clear out the way of the Ballista, I assume.
Nice.
Okay, never mind. He's recruitering.
He's probably going to get
Revoker,
right?
Yeah, I think he. Ooh, what?
How is it?
That's an interesting one. Okay, so that's going to be able to kill something for sure.
That kills both of the creatures cleanly, essentially. Yes, it is technically a mono-white mirror if you want to go by colors of deck, but I would say Caleb's deck is more mono-brown splashing white.
Yeah, let's see. So that draw was pretty good as far as giving us some options.
Yeah, the land was enormous. So if you're Bonde, you probably Palace Jailer the Ballista.
You think so? Let's see.
So here's the reason I say that. Because if you do that first, there's no high value targets for him to Ballista down.
Sure. That makes sense.
Wisp, then he gets to shoot the Flicker Wisp, right?
Yeah, I was thinking, so if he does this to Walking Ballista, then he's definitely making the play of hard casting the Flicker Wisp on the construct.
And I think that is a good play because then you get to kill the Karn.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
And then also, don't forget, Palace Jailer has a lot of words on it. He gets a one-sided Phyrexian Arena that costs him no life.
So this is going to be fantastic. I mean, it's swinging heavily in Michael's favor at this point. Ballista's dead. He's going to Flicker Wisp the construct. He's going to attack in and kill Karn, and Caleb is going to have absolutely nothing other than mana.
Caleb will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana, but nothing to do with it. So his best draw again would be another Walking Ballista. Or actually, Auriok Salvagers.
Yeah, I was going to say, Salvagers start to get back these Ballistas.
2 mana to start returning the Ballistas.
Now, it is pretty sweet that we get to see Brightling in action here. So this has been one of those cards that people have talked about a lot, has been added to Death and Taxes recently.
Those are some poor draws for Caleb.
We'll say this is probably the best land he could have drawn, and that is not a good land. So
that is just game if, like, literally all Bonde would have to do is pump his Brightling once.
Scoop it up. But
Caleb sees the writing on the wall. So for sideboarding, Caleb has a bunch of spot removal in his sideboard that he can side in, and I suspect he's going to do that.
Ooh, 2 Seal of Cleansing on Michael's side.
No, that's on Caleb's side, right?
Oh, Caleb's side. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
we had a lot of white cards.
The random Amonket limited all-star cast out.
Jeez.
I think the reason he plays that is that actually you can cast it while you have Chalice of the Void in play. And if you really are desperate, you can cycle it.
Or
Mother of Runes, not particularly good in this matchup versus the Walking Ballista deck. Palace Jailer came out. Brimaz coming out. Rest in Peace coming in. That's a good call on Bonde's side.
Yeah, Rest in Peace is a significant one here. So the Salvager's late game lock can be pretty annoying to deal with. Okay.
Interestingly, if you look at Bonnie's deck closely enough, one of the Thalias has the legend border, others do not.
Interesting.
As we all know, the Legends borders were introduced during Dominaria. The Brimaz does not have the Legend border, I think, if you look at it correctly.
What do you think about Light and Shadow? Is there any reason he'd want to bring that in here against an army of monks?
Not. Oh, actually, that is interesting. Huh. Actually, now that I think about it, that is probably correct. He's going back and forth on the Palace Jailers, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think SoFi is great. He took out 2 Stoneforges, which I'm fine with, because he sort of shaved down on the equipment package.
Yep.
And bringing the Sophie back in.
Okay, so we have one Sanctum Prelate in the deck post sideboard.
What number would you even pick? Probably 0, I guess, right? Yeah, you definitely named 0.
I mean, he did see the, let's see, I need to pull up the text, but can he hit Karn with it on 4?
Yes. Yeah, it's
So
not
that's-
nature spells.
So that's relevant.
But I think you just prelate on 0, actually. Just look at it. It shows
Yeah, I
up
mean,
combo.
For sure. I mean, he turbos out so many things on 0.
Yeah, but I mean, just having insurance against the combo, I think, is good. And it also shuts off all of the card advantage from salvagers, essentially.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Except for Walking Ballista. You can still get that one back. All right, let's see if Caleb can recover from being down 1.
Hey, props to the name art. Very creative.
Yeah, I love it. Caleb is Taco Bell, and Michael Bondes instead of McDonald's. I love it. Just so good. Props to Julian making all that happen.
Okay, on Caleb's side, that's actually a really interesting decision. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. So he decided to play a turn 1 Monastery Mentor instead of the Walking Ballista into Monastery Mentor make a monk. I guess his game plan is 100% on making a big ballista here.
Yeah, it is.
And he's just using the mentor as fodder in that situation.
Right. It's interesting. Apparently Caleb has no basic planes in his deck.
Okay, let me see. I didn't even realize that. I thought he maybe played one.
He got pathed and didn't search.
You're right. Yeah, I just sort of assumed he'd play one plane, so that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's really, really peculiar. Here, like...
All right, well, here's the
old, we're flooded in our draft decks. We're going to dump as much mana into our activated ability of creatures every turn possible.
Right. It's like the Pack Rat Make a Rat, except for it's a little bit slower here in this matchup.
A little bit slower. Pack Rat at least kills your opponent super fast.
Right.
Bonde Prick on a land, which is great for Caleb.
Yeah, well, not only is it great, it's like the game, right? That's like a huge deal. Like,
I don't think it's the game yet. The Ballista doesn't kill like that quickly.
Oh, and I don't mean the game on that side. I mean, if he had drawn the land, this would be really bad for Caleb. Okay, drawing any sort of spell like that here is reasonable. I think that's actually like a significant draw that's going to put some pressure on here because now there's 2 really must-kill soon targets on the other side of the board.
Agreed. Uh-oh.
Still, yeah, this is not good.
So do you cast the GT if you're Bonde? You probably have to, right?
Yeah, I think that you probably need to here. The thing is, he can basically have a safe creature in the form of Revoker if he needs it, right?
Yeah. That's really slow, though.
It is really slow, but it's just... Oh, and the plow. Man, these draws here have been fantastic.
Caleb did not get flooded this time. Interestingly, he played the Caracas, so his plan is to just cast plow this turn, I think, instead of cycling the canopy.
I think that's a fantastic play. I mean, there's a Jitte in play. Michael hasn't really been doing anything.
You just want to keep the board clear and kill your opponent as quickly as possible. It's like a 2-turn clock by this point, I think.
Yep.
If you work it out.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, I think the advantage bar is like 90% in Caleb's favor at this point or something. Like, just having that mentor as the second threat is just so significant.
He got Sophie off the Stoneforge.
Yeah, I think that's the only target left in his deck. Is that right? I didn't see that. I think he took out the Batterskull.
Yes, he took out Batterskull. It sort of makes sense to take out Batterskull because I think the games don't really play in such a way where the Batterskull is that good.
I agree with that. Now, Sword of Fire and Ice is also not great, but...
Yeah. I think Bonde needs to draw a land, and he needs to Judgment the Ballista before doing anything.
I agree with that. And, the nice thing about having 2 targets...
Third Aether Vials!
It's over.
I like calling this the humans problem in Modern as well. When you really need to draw a land and you draw a 38th there, Vile.
Hey, am I allowed to root for Caleb so that I can get the Death and Taxes matchup instead of playing that Bomberman deck?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're allowed to root. I guess I'll take the Death and Taxes side then. I do like Bonde. He's a great guy. He plays well, and he's always very happy, which is, sort of a rare quality in a Magic player.
Were you about to say rare quality for a European Magic player, Jarvis?
No. What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense.
Just kidding. We love our European Magic players.
Yeah.
All right. So, pumping up. This game is getting out of hand here. Okay, so we do have like the nice little tricky recruiter and a Vile 1-2 situation.
Yep.
Now we get to see the go wide Bobblemania strategy here.
I mean, Monastery Mentor is probably the best Storm card ever printed.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not joking.
Hey, we do splash white for it in Vintage, right? In Vintage Storm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, for Caleb at this point, just any spells were great.
Yeah, you can actually plow your own monk for lethal, I think. Actually, it is currently showing lethal, right?
It is, yeah.
I guess plowing the recruiter is also lethal, right? You can actually let
probably will
recruits up first, right?
Yeah, unless he wants to. I mean, I would say you do, because he knows that he's going to need to activate this Vile 1-2. Okay, Relic Order.
Actually, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, definitely.
There's no good way to save Ballista from Relic Order because it's worded like the old text.
Yeah, sort of forgot that he had access to that in his deck. Okay, so let's see. 8, 5. Not going to die.
No, not going to die because the Relic Order was actually the correct card to get.
Absolutely.
I think, let's see, what do you do here? You probably just kill both of the creatures with your Relic Order, right?
Yeah, because you're going to get into more damage than just like doming your opponent.
Yep. And also you can cycle the Bauble, hopefully finding more spells.
Basically, interestingly, I mean, I guess he doesn't...
Wait, where did that last... Oh, the last damage went to the recruiter, right?
Yeah, it's just last on the stack. So I think that there was a choice he could make, which was a 4 damage for 1 scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had done that, well, that's just a choice he could have made. So I think that he very quickly decided that it's not something he wants to do when he's only at 10 life, which is reasonable. But
yeah, I think Caleb is trying to figure out the ways he could lose here. Yeah. Which is important to do when you're like this far ahead.
Absolutely.
And definitely one of the ways you could lose is by taking too much damage from Ancient Tomb.
So the hard part here is that does it look like
Bonde is trying to figure out what to do with the recruiter because he cited some cards out.
He's looking at the sideboard. He does the Source Plows is in his opponent's hand, and a lot of these sort of late game lines revolve around him probably not playing around that.
Interesting. Palace Jailer is actually pretty good here because it removes, even if you plow the Palace Jailer, the creature is at least exiled until the Monarch is taken back.
Yeah, that's great.
Kale obviously is going to do this because you want to make a monk.
Notably, Salvagers represents a prowess trigger because it can get back a Bauble, and it can also get back the Walking Ballista.
4, 5, 6, 7. If he draws another land, it actually represents 2 prowess triggers, right?
If he draws another land, yes.
It can be any land because you just float.
Yep.
Use the pedal for white.
1 floating.
Yeah. He basically has 2 white sources, and he's on 7 mana.
Yeah, this is pretty close to stabilizing zone here.
Yeah, we might have counted Bonde out too quickly. A second Palace Jailer?
Ooh.
He's thinking
That's a spicy number.
the GTA clip. All right. So what happens if you salvagers back your ballista
and kill the
you have enough? No, you don't have enough mana for that, right?
Not now that he didn't draw a land,
Yeah.
right?
He actually needed a land for that too.
A land would have won.
You can get back the pedal off your salvagers to float a white.
Yeah, so get back pedal.
That might work.
So 1 mana floating, sack pedal.
Actually, that does work, I think, if you can
get back pedal. He's going to be able to. Oh, but the thing is, he's at 7.
Yeah, you need one more trigger.
Yeah, he's at 7, and he can block 1.
Oh no, this is nice. Wait, no, is it 2, 3?
Wait, oh, what did we miss? Did he? Oh, he had another pedal.
He had another one in the graveyard.
Oh, okay, he had another pedal.
But it still only puts him to 1, right?
Yeah, he's at this point he can get back. Yep, looks like he's getting back the bobble. Going to attack in, he'll block 1 and he'll go to 1, but have 2 counters on this Chitte.
Yeah, the game actually becomes pretty close. I don't know what's going to happen.
What do you do with these Chitte counters here?
Save them for when. Wait, what happened? Why is there a mentor in play? Did we miss something?
Yeah, I'm a little confused.
There was like, oh, Caleb is the monarch. Duh. Okay. Yep. That's correct. Caleb became the monarch. It sort of just, it happened really fast, and you didn't get to see all the triggers happen.
Yeah. Where did the, so yeah, I actually am confused about how the mentor got in play, though.
There was a jailer had monarch, or sorry.
Oh, the jailer had the mentor. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay,
I mean,
that's awesome.
The monarch had the mentor.
That's crazy. Okay. Yeah, that's a really insane interaction. Like, it looks like Michael Bond sort of like looking around like that, and maybe didn't realize. Look, he's pulling it up.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out what to do now. It's going to be hard. Do you go after salvagers? You probably have to, because otherwise Caleb can get back the walking ballista, which lethals you.
Okay, so he's going to be able to put 2 creatures. He's not, though. He's going to be able to block 1 and he kill 1. So yeah, so he's
actually dead on board unless if he draws a creature. Oh no, well, still the GT. There's still the GT, and he can draw a creature off of the monarch trigger.
Yep. So he can, he's going to kill a monk, block the other monk. The problem is that because of Karn, he's going to, and now because of the bobble. Yeah, okay. So Prowess was enough to obviously put him over the edge here, but interesting. Yeah, that happened very quickly with the Monarch. We're like, whoa, Mentor got in play. Like, what happened?
There was a little bit of lag in our defense.
In our defense, yeah. Well, it's interesting because Monarch is one of these abilities that's just like, it's not a card. There's no card in play that changed anything, but Monarch changed, which that effect that happened earlier in the game.
So what actually happened, the way we could have figured that out is that the physical emblem thing moves sides.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, so he's looking at these remorseful clerics. He hovered over those for a second. I think this is interesting. He just realized the fire and ice is not as good as light and shadow, sort of what we talked about before that game too.
And it looks like Caleb is satisfied where he is.
He's going back and forth on this light and shadow. I don't think any of us have a ton of experience against Bomberman, obviously, but it's the kind of deck that once you do start to play against it a few times, you realize that Mentor is a huge part of their strategy.
Yeah, it was very good that game. Like,
well, it was the top deck that really kept him in the game and allowed him to win.
agreed. So classic start from Michael. Turn 1, Plains, Aether Vial.
Oh, this Remorseful Cleric is actually somewhat interesting. Now, the cool thing about Bomberman is it's actually pretty. It can get around the Graveyard Hate pretty well, but it does target. So if you have something that's instant speed and you're not expecting the Graveyard Hate, it can definitely run into it. So there's this sub-game of Remorseful Cleric and Salvager's LED, and we'll sort of see what happens.
Well, yeah, the Rest in Peace sort of makes it much easier to not care about any of it.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, if he's just slamming the Rest in Peace,
I think I would be inclined to do so as well.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that turns off all of that.
Yeah, now the LED's not... Well, okay, so Caleb did Sided and Seal of Cleansing, so he can remove the Rest in Peace if he draws it.
Yeah, the Rest in Peace is a huge deal because Caleb's hand, he had basically like the Salvager's LED combo hand.
Yeah, he could have drawn his deck. Unfortunately, all of the baubles are slow trips, so he would have ended up with most of his deck in his hand on Bonde's turn. But that's going to translate to a win the very next turn, like most of the time. Nice. The Flicker Wisp are Wasteland, probably Ancient Den.
Little tempo action here. Yeah, Ancient Den keeps him off of the potential Mox Opal.
Yep, exactly. Little does he know, Caleb can still cast Mox Opal, Ancient Den, Salvagers, and not take any damage.
Yep.
He might play the Ancient Tomb anyways? I'm not sure.
If I'm on Michael's side right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared of Walking Ballista, right?
Yep. Let's see if the baubles find Caleb a Ballista. So he actually saved the Lotus Petal because he wants an extra mana source for a potential Ballista. That's my read anyways.
It's reasonable.
Well, Salvagers is still a 2/4. Unfortunately, all of the creatures on the other side are flying.
Yep.
Oh,
man. This is just like, this hand is so cold for the Walking Ballista, right?
I think Mentor is not going to be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't...
If he draws Seal of Cleansing next turn, it might be good enough.
Did he have to play the Lotus Petal last turn?
I don't think so, but
that's a minor thing. I don't think it's going to matter. But.
Agreed. Actually, if Caleb draws exactly Seal of Cleansing next turn, he can make Infinite Monks.
Yeah, that's a big game.
It is.
So even though we're looking at Michael having a pretty big advantage, it's not over.
Yeah, unfortunately, Palace Jailer, I think, probably ends most of those scenarios. Notably, Michael cannot cast the second Rest in Peace because of Thalia.
Yep.
The Petal turned on the Opal, so I guess he had to. The previous turn.
No, we had it in Bauble and Opal, so it did not.
Oh,
right?
There was a Bauble in play, right?
Yes, there was a Bauble and an Ancient Den.
Right. All right.
Good old redraw Horizon Canopy.
Wow.
Okay, something.
Enough. Buys him a few turns, I guess. Well, actually, he's at 10. There's 2 flying damage if you go after the Flicker Wisp, which lowers the clock to a 5-turn clock.
So the
Nice.
Monarch situation is interesting because there's like...
He's going to take the Monarch here.
Yeah.
That's great. Then you get into a funny King of the Hill situation.
Yep. Whoa.
And he drew a bobble off the Monarch trigger.
What do you think about that block?
That's an interesting block.
Because he was on a 2-turn clock to win the game, so that's just something to think about.
All right, so
funny thing is we were sort of trashing sort of Fire Knights earlier, but if he had that to put on the flyer, he would have lethal now.
It would be lethal.
But you never know how these games are going to play out. Obviously, pro white on a ground creature is also insane here. So sort of Fire Knights is going to allow him to get back Pile Stealer. Sorry?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen.
Oh!
Yeah, so the sort of, I knew those are just both remove piles.
I guess. Sorry about that. The way that it looks to me is like it's showing exile, but it's actually.
Right. Wow. It looks like you might be playing against Death and Taxes.
Yep.
Not sure. There's still a bit more game to play because, again, if Caleb draws Seal of Cleansing, he can just go infinite power on his monks.
Yeah, we're still in top deck mode here.
But he also has a fair number of prowess triggers in his hand, as well as a second monk.
Yeah. So yeah, and just to clarify for our viewers, we learned that, and Jarvis already knew this, but I misspoke, that we're looking at exile zones because of Rest in Peace and Play, and to me it looks like graveyards over there, but sorry about that.
I think Caleb's LEDs are actually matched, but Mike has a filter set up that changes the art to the original art once they enter play.
Oh, snap. That's sick.
Yeah, it is pretty clever. We can confirm my hypothesis in a second.
Yeah, Opal Draw is not going to do it.
Caleb needs to win this turn, right? Otherwise, the sword is lethal.
Yeah, and I don't think that he drew what he needed. So he's
can lead with the Karn, right?
So Karn is going to use up all of his mana and take 2 damage. This makes a lot of sense because it's just a free prowess trigger.
And a single ballista or second plow.
Is he going to crack the LED from plussing? That just, I mean, does he have any outs here?
I think you have to. If it sees 2 good cards, then you win the game, right?
Let's see. So he give you a spell. So he's going to have 8, 10, 12.
Well, I don't think you're going to play the second LED, right? Because currently
you can't. No. Yeah, you can't play the second LED. So, I'm saying if he draws a spell, he's only going to have 12 power.
But if he draws Walking Ballista or Plow, it's just lethal, right?
If he draws
Ballista or Plow?
So he'll have 1 in that. So yeah, if it's is it Ballista though? Because that's not a spell to prowess.
You just get Thalia and it's lethal, right?
Yeah, let's see. So that would be 4 extra damage as opposed to all the prowess. So yeah, I think that you're right. So Ballista and Plow are the 2, but you only get given 1 of them. So he has to have 2 of those cards.
Yes, he has to hit 2 good cards off the card.
2 of those exact good cards, right?
It's a shame that the cards in Exile don't have silver counters on them.
Right.
So this has been a really... Oh, he just cracked LED. You just can crack it first.
Yeah, that's
what... Plow and Ancient Den, not good enough.
Almost.
Almost. It was so close.
Wow. Okay. All right. I think that what do we do? Do we recap before I go over to my match? Probably.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, hold on. We have to make sure that Caleb's not missing something.
Or that we're not missing something.
Bonde box. We have to make sure, right?
Yeah. So let's see. He has 6, 8, 10. Yep. So Michael wins the game. Dead blast it. That's not good. I'm gonna have to. If I somehow beat Cephalid Breakfast here, I'm gonna have to play against that deck again. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Great job to Bonde. I think that matchup is not like insanely good for him.
Right. Yeah, that was really interesting. I thought.
Yeah.
A lot of cool sub games. But yeah, so thank you all for tuning into this match. Real quick, I'm going to give a shout out to my startup Cardboard.live. We're sponsoring the stream. If y'all are using the little deck list buttons on the side of the screen, that's something we're trying out here. So appreciate Julian and Mike for letting us test this on the stream. Feel free to give us feedback and just sort of let us know how that goes. But yeah, it's fun commentating. So I look forward to my future commentary matches, and I guess I'll hop off here and get on my match.
Yep. It's a crazy game.